as it looks like they are nearing alignment here as we get started with our second race of the day, Harvard versus Brown for the Stein Cup. The Crimson had won it 7 consecutive years before last year, and now Harvard, racing at home for the first time this season, is hoping to get it back. Harvard in our first race of the day was on the right side and Brown was on the left side. Try and see if we can get a look as to who is where. If they follow the same lane assignments, yes, that is Harvard as we get off and underway in the Varsity 8 race between Harvard and Brown. Harvard, from this view, will be on the right side, and boy, they have gotten off to a tremendous start here. The first 30 seconds or so of this race, they've nearly built up a half a boat lead.
Yeah, and they've done a terrific job here at about a stroke rate of about 47, so doing a terrific job early jumping out on Brown.
Yeah, getting off to a really quick start as they begin to settle in here into this first 500. Stein Cup, again, a 1.8-second victory by Brown a year ago. Harvard won the other 3 races, so second, third, and fourth varsity. Crimson is 44-10 all-time in the Stein Cup races against Brown. And again, Harvard was able to come out in front at Eastern Sprints as they've built up a slight lead here. Harvard is coached by Charlie Butt in his 33rd season with the Harvard rowing program. This is his 6th as the leader of the heavyweights. He previously was the head coach of the lightweight team. Brown is coached by Paul Cook, who was the head coach of the freshman team for 6 years before taking over the only Brown rowing team on the men's side. They don't have the lightweight races, just the heavies. He took over in 2002. And here, first 90 seconds of this race, Harvard maintaining that lead that they built up in the early portion.
Yeah, and they've done a terrific job of maintaining that stroke rate, still sitting right around 44 for Brown. They've slowed down a little bit, but they've picked it up just a little bit, right around 44. So we'll see. We saw Brown make a push in that second varsity earlier today, so we'll see if they can make that push once again here.
Yeah, Harvard had a slight lead in the opening few moments of the first race that we saw in that second varsity, but it was around the midway point that Brown had caught up and started to take a little bit of a lead before eventually coming away with the win. But right now, Harvard is maintaining, and in fact looks like it's growing that lead as they've nearly been able to pick up another couple seats. It looks like it's about a 7-8 seat advantage and nearly putting open water between themselves and the Bears.
Yeah, they've done a terrific job. They've slowed down just a little bit pace-wise, but you're seeing right now Harvard just looking a little bit more in sync. And like you said, Alex, to start this for Harvard, a terrific jump right off the start is what has caused this lead for the Crimson.
The Crimson last year were 6-2 with their dual regatta record. They lost to Brown and Yale. Those were the 2 defeats. As you get a good look here as they prepare to go underneath Massachusetts Avenue. Harvard in front by nearly an entire boat length. Crimson were 3rd at Eastern Sprints, 4th at the IRA National Championships.
Don't count out Brown just yet, Alex. They've done a good job of starting to pick up that stroke rate, sitting right around 43. So, again, this has been a Brown team trying to pick things up here late. Saw that earlier with their second varsity, and now trying to do the same here against Harvard in the varsity.
And it looks like Brown a little bit cleaner at this point with its strokes. You're not seeing quite as much splashback, but Harvard's been able to build up enough of a lead that if they maintain this, it might be very difficult for Brown to be able to eat into that lead.
Yeah, and we go back to the beginning of this race where really Harvard had those smooth strokes. We didn't see a lot of splashback there from them. So, now looking at what the Crimson do, and we're starting to see Harvard now pull away even a little bit more than what they already had.
Nearing the 3-quarter mark, you see as they pass the MIT boathouse, that white line in the background represents the final 500 meters of this race. Harvard has a bit of a lead. They've been able to maintain it. They have not been able to put open water between themselves and the Bears to this point, but the Crimson are very strong performance, and coming in, we thought this race was going to be really, really tight based on the way they were last year, the 2 races that they were involved in.
Well, Brown has started to pick it up, Alex. The stroke rate right at about 38, and they are continuing to push here.
Yeah, it looks like they're picking up maybe a seat here on Harvard, but Crimson's still out in front. Again, it's a little bit difficult to tell with the angle, but Harvard had a lead of nearly an entire boat, and now it's a lead that's been cut to a little bit less than that as both teams going into their final sprint to the finish here in the Varsity 8 showdown between Harvard, the number 5 team in the country, and Brown, number 5, Harvard, number 3.
Brown is really starting to pick it up. They're now right around 40 as they come down here.
You see a few of those looks over from the Harvard crew trying to maintain what they have. Brown is looking to pull off what would be a pretty big comeback here in the Varsity 8 race. Brown at national championships finished in 6th place for the 3rd straight year. Harvard was 4th at the IRA national championships. Closing in on the finish line.
This is an excellent job by Brown to try and pick up this pace.
They've made up some ground on Harvard, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough as they go down to the final few meters. And the Varsity 8 race looks like it will head in the direction of the Crimson. They head to the finish. And a celebratory Harvard crew as it looks like they have come out in front. Brown showed a lot of resolve to make that race a lot closer than it looked like it was going to finish around the midway point.
Well, you know